G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach for DR and welcome to my round 2 review. Look, SuperCoach wise, a lot more positive this week. My team did bounce back, 23.66, that was in the top 1% for this round, and a round 2 rank of 930, so extremely pleased with that. I got all the rookies right this week. Some of my underperforming premiums from last week, I say some, not all, but players like Max Gawn, Brodie Grundy and the Seagull, they hit some form and showed me why I selected them to start off the 2021 season. A little bit worried, as I said last week, but now I feel a little bit better about my team and a little bit better about my structure as well. So I'll talk about the hits and misses in a minute, but one of the misses was the start to the AFL round in general to me. Friday night, I was pumped. I headed down the Cattery with the family, down the highway to GMHBA Stadium. First time I'd been down there, so was expecting really great experience. And I thought the stadium was actually pretty nice. You know, we had a really good view from where we were, surrounded by other Brisbane supporters. But talk about a range of different emotions.
A few minutes later.
But I'm sort of over it now. Not really. Maybe another couple of days I will. But back to the Supercoach. Let's take a look at the side. Now, in my defence, 4 premiums down there. Lloyd, Laird, Stewart and Short. 3 of those guys performed. 1 in Stewart underperformed. But with Lloyd, 124. I said last week, don't worry too much about this bloke. Only started off with a small bowl of chips last year with a 77. A 92 last week. He came back, ordered a large chips. You know, not an extra large with chicken sold on top and sauce, but a 124, that was really good, particularly when Campbell played really well. They were looking to get the ball in his hands a little bit more. Dawson, he took some of those kickouts. So the fact that those 2 blokes actually played really well and Lloyd still managed to get a 124, I think that's great signs for the Seagull this year. Laird, a 121. I've pegged him for a 110 to 115 average this year. 111.5 at the moment. That's perfect for me. On the lower end of that, but certainly not complaining. If that's your season average, 111.5 for the rest of the year, I don't think that's going to be too bad anyway. So, nice one, Rory Laird. Thumbs up there. Stewart, I was obviously at the game, so early on, I thought he looked really nice. You're always conflicted when I'm barracking for Brisbane, but I still want my Supercoach players to go well from the opposition. But 83, I think that's going to be closer to his floor. I'm not overly concerned with Stewart, but I want more than a 98 average from him, particularly with all the good defenders we've got this year. Short, 120, so he's got an average of 110 now after 100 right on the dot last week. Again, he just did what Jaden Short does well, and that's get the ball, kick it long, and kick it effectively. So if he continues to do that, if he gets 20 kicks a game, then he's going 100 plus every day of the week, basically. Jordan Clark now, he did look really sluggish to me, you know, not really clean, a little bit lethargic, no real urgency to his game. And I was pretty unimpressed with what I saw from Jordan Clark. I was up pretty close to the action at this game and, yeah, just didn't like what I saw from him, to be quite honest. And if it wasn't for that long-range goal, that score would have been a lot closer to a 50. So, yeah, when some of these stars get back, I'm not sure what happens with Clark after seeing him up close. But I suppose the 67, it's not the end of the world. But we want him to try to get to around that 400 mark if possible. Highmore, 77 on field from a defensive rookie, 117k, is absolutely ideal. I've got Butts on the bench there, 37. Now, you may say to me, why'd you spend up 176k for someone like a Jordan Butts? It was because there was no good rookies down there. I didn't want Sharp in my starting side because I didn't really like his job security. And with Butts, it's not about his scoring potential. It is all about that job security. So he's an absolute break glass in case of emergency type thing. And Cozzy there as well with a 38. He actually missed a few opportunities, I think, Cozzy. And if he had, clunked a couple of those marks, maybe converted a couple of those, and that would have been closer to a 60. So not overly concerned with him, but I think he'll hover around that 50 mark, Cozzy, for most of the year with a nice game when he kicks a bag here and there, I think. Onto the midfield, Lachie Neale, extremely disappointed. I was obviously watching him really closely. As you can see, he was my vice-captain. I did keep the faith and thought he would bounce back last week, because if you look at his scoring history, very, very, very rarely does he have 2 70-odd games in a row. And I just thought that Neale, being the professional that he is, Lions, they'll want to bounce back really hard after a disappointing round one. They were disappointed as a side, but Neale in particular with his performance, I think, wouldn't have been happy with that, because he's an ultra-professional, but things just didn't work out well for him. O'Connor wore him like an absolute glove. I did notice a couple of times that Neale pushed into the forward line when there was a centre bounce ball up. As soon as it got balled up, he would race into that square, try to get a little bit of separation from O'Connor and impact the contest, but O'Connor was just with him the whole way, did not give him an inch, and was a really disappointing game from Lachie Neale. A better second half as compared to his first half, but yeah, a little bit concerned with Lachie Neale, and geez, I wish I had have started with Jack McRae. Oliver, a 133, he's doing what I expected Clary to do, and he plays this game with great urgency. It looks like he wants to impact, get near the ball, and he wills himself to get to every contest. That's what I love about Clary. You know, we know he's not the cleanest player, but he just gets that ball and gets that hard down under stuff. You know, that's what I love about Clary. And this is the difference between him and Merritt. I was watching these blokes close on the weekend. That urgency I talked about with Clary, I didn't see that with Zerrett. You know, I thought that he sat back a little bit at times. Now, I'm not sure if that's his instruction or not to maybe play a little bit back. I'm not too sure, but he just didn't look like he wanted to be in the contest. And there were a couple of times where he maybe could have laid a tackle and just didn't look like he gave 100%, unlike someone like Clary, who I think gives 100% most of the time. So I was a little bit disappointed in that respect from Merritt. A little bit concerned that Draper's gone down now. Obviously, he's number one ruckman that he gets tapped from. And Dylan Shields also out. Look, that probably means that he spends even more time inside Zach Merritt. He was spending a fair bit of time inside already. But, yeah, not concerned with the pick, but more just a little disappointed, I suppose, because I had him pegged as probably one of the safest starting midfielders this year in the Uber Premium anyway. Titch, he came in this week for Paddy Dangerfield, 109 on debut. I thought with his disposal count that score could have been a little bit higher, but again, sometimes Titch just doesn't have a massive impact on the game. But yeah, I thought that was at least a 120 game from Titch, but a 109, I'll take that from him, and really happy to have him in my side, because I certainly think by the end of the year, this bloke's going to be a must-have. Powell, I said last week that I was expecting him to bounce back with about a 75, and he got right on a 75 this week. Didn't watch the game, but I'll take that every day of the week from an on-field rookie option in my midfield. Jordan, 82. He's not a really popular rookie. There's a few people that missed out on Jordan, so I think he's almost a must-trade in this week as one of those rookie corrections, and he's been on field for me 2 weeks in a row. I really, really like the way that this bloke plays, and some people, including myself, I suppose, were a little bit worried about his job security going into the season, but that is absolutely rock solid at the moment, and he'd be up there, I think, in their top 15 players that the coach would select each week. James Jordan, really love what he brings to the table. Sam Berry, this 69 could have easily been 100. I think he had 3 at least, maybe 4 shots at goal. Did not convert one of them, but look, he's an absolute tackling machine, this bloke, and that's where he'll get his points, through his tackles, I think. I'll need to go back to his draft profile and check out his endurance, because I think he was on about a 48-51 at halftime, and then only got to that 69, and I think he might have been high 40s half-time of round 1 and didn't really go on with that score either. So I don't know if it's an endurance thing or not. I know his time on ground in round 1 was pretty low. I think it was about a 69-70, so that may have been a reason for that slowdown, I suppose, in the second half. But yeah, I'm wrapped with the Berry selection, and I think he's a fairly safe on-field option for us each week. Talk about a safe on-field option. I missed out on Errol's score in round 1. And I was not going to make the same mistake again. Just field this bloke. I won't say trade him in, because you all should already have this bloke into your side. There's no reason why you wouldn't have started him. So a 136, I think he's tipped up to go about 125k this week. And I am getting into the stock market video tonight as well. So the first SuperCoach stock market video of the year will hopefully be up by tomorrow night to give you a couple of days to sink your teeth into that. So yeah, back by popular demand this year, bigger and better than ever. So check that out tomorrow night, the stock market video. Paddy Dow, a little bit disappointed with this pick. I looped him, and I certainly made the right decision there. 53, the lowest score I had there was Berry, 69, which again could have been a lot higher. So, yeah, I'll loop him most weeks, I think, Paddy Dow, and probably a bit of a fail as a starting pick. But again, he's averaging 56.5. Lachie Neale is averaging 76. So 20 points difference. If you had told me at the start of the year that Paddy Dow would be averaging 20 points under Lachie Neale, well, I'd be thinking that Dow would be averaging at least 100 there, but unfortunately not. A bit of a failed selection at this stage, but not too bad, not the worst. Fife is my loop, didn't have to use him obviously, and Scott, a little bit disappointing with the 23, not sure if he holds his spot or not, but again, 102k forward, averaging 39.5. If he plays for the next few weeks somehow, he'll still earn us a little bit of coin, which is always handy. The set and forget Rucks, they bounce back this week. So Big Maxi Gorn was my captain, a 137, and Brody Grundy, a 135. They look back to their absolute best. Gorn had a little bit of a slow start. I think he was only on 44 at halftime, but I think he had a 50-point third quarter and just looked sublime in that second half particularly. So, yeah, keep the faith with Maxi Gorn. I know that some people traded him out. No one in this community, I don't think, and I think there were a few hundred or maybe even thousand there might have been coaches that traded Brody Grundy out last week. But I said for me last week, even though I was disappointed with their performance and the fact that I didn't have Flynn's 140 odd on field, I said keep the faith with these blokes because the tables will turn, and that has turned a little bit this week. But in saying that, if you've got Flynn on field with your 78 and use that money elsewhere, then yeah, that's not the worst situation in the world either. So a 78 from Flynn, you'll probably take as an on-field option every day of the week, I think. Josh Dunkley in the forward line, a 132. You've got to have this bloke in your side. If you haven't, I'd almost make a correctional trade this week. He's an absolute star. He's a tackling machine. You know, we went through his numbers 2 years ago when he had that elite year. That's why I select him again this year, and he's just a super player, and bad luck Essendon for not landing this bloke. He's an absolute star, Josh Dunkley. Tom Phillips, what a butcher. You know, I watched him again. I watched him carefully. He managed to find the pill okay, but he just couldn't use it effectively, which is a major concern for me. You know, some of those options, you know, 25, 30 metre sort of chip kicks, almost to a one-on-one contest. The decision-making also wasn't there. So not only was it the execution, it was his decision-making about what he did with the ball, which I wasn't impressed with also. And, you know, why did I select Phillips? Well, I look back at when he had that wing role at Collingwood where he averaged 90 during the season. I thought, okay, if we can replicate that at least at Hawthorn, you know, around that 90 average, you add that little bit of extra inside midfield time that they never really received at Collingwood, then surely that's got to be an extra 5 to 10 points for a 95 to 100 average. And look, he did get a little bit of that inside midfield time, but it's no good if you can't use the ball and you don't have an impact in there. So really disappointing with a 56. After an okay score of 90 this week, I'm concerned with Tommy Phillips. I may have been trapped with Tommy. Jack Zeeble, a 72. Again, didn't watch the North game, but 92.5 as an average. He'll be a really good cash cow for us. Is he keeper material? Maybe not, but hopefully he can just be one of our last forward upgrades. And talk about possibly one of our last forward upgrades or a really, really outside chance of being a premium. Jarman Impey, 123 points. Really, really solid selection. He's a bloke that I selected because I thought he's without a doubt in their best 22. He's a really talented player. He's shown in that role that he can go around the 80 mark. I think it was for about a 12-week period there. And given the fact that those halfbacks are scoring pretty well this year, or that looks like what's going to be happening for the first, you know, little bit of the season anyway, until the game style changes or, you know, plans are put in place, then, yeah, he's going to be a really good selection. So 123, I think you've almost got to trade this bloke in also because he's going to make some really quick cash. And I'm not sure if this is going to be just a flash in the pan. I'm not saying he's going to go anywhere near 123 for an average, but if he can go 85, 90, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And you look at Phillips, who's got your 56, you're paying double the amount for him as compared to an Impey with a 123. Yeah, what a great selection, Jarman Impey. So kept the faith. Again, didn't score overly well last week, but I did speak to a few people and they said to me, because I didn't watch the game really closely, that yeah, he was a little bit ripped off with their score and he probably should have been scored 5 to 10 points higher. So yeah, 123, super effort from him. Campbell, 118. Geez, this kid's a great player. You know, Sydney haven't they done well in this draft? McDonald, Campbell, and Errol. Geez, talk about a fabulous three. These blokes could all be legitimate stars of the competition, I think. What an absolute haul from Sydney. But look, they look to get the ball in this bloke's hands. He obviously uses it well. A couple of times, looked a little bit fancy, I thought, but he can just ping it 60 metres with ease and with accuracy as well. He'll only get better. They're looking for him, as I said. Terrific on-field selection. Just play him on-field every week. I'm sure most of us have got him by now. And Warner, absolute star as well. I think, I talked about those other three, McDonald, Errol and Campbell, but Chad Warner as well, obviously selected last year, played a couple of games, but he's looking absolutely terrific, a really exciting type player, and I'm wrapped to have him on my side because I actually really enjoy watching this young fella. So a 94 with an 82 average, basically the same as Jordan there with an 80 average, on field, absolutely fantastic for me. Now, I didn't get sucked in this week on bringing Rowe onto the field, so that's where I got a little bit of an advantage on the competition, I think, not fielding James Rowe for that 19. Now, why didn't I field Rowe after he got his 100 last week? I stuck to my guns and I looked at the other names I had on the field here, and I thought, do you know what? I don't think that he's legitimately going to outscore any of these blokes this week. Campbell, you're always a little bit tempted because obviously Rowe doubled his score last week, and some people may be a little bit reactionary and go, well, Campbell straight off, Rowe's got to come on. But for me, I kept the faith in the roles that they play in the side. Campbell through the back line, as I said, they love getting in his hands. Elite kick. I thought he's got to be good for a sort of a 70 plus this week. And Rowe, I thought, well, he played absolutely out of his skin round one. Small forward for Adelaide, although he does push up the ground a little bit, which will help his scoring this year. Nah, just don't think that he's going to go anywhere near that 104. So back my gut, and that was right. That gave me a really big leg up on the rest of the competition because most teams that I saw actually fielded Rowe this week, and for good reason as well. He had that 104, but as I said, I just backed my gut. And Brockman, well, he hit back this week, 77, a really exciting type player. Disappointing score last week. I think it was in the low 20s from memory. I can't remember. I had him on the bench last week anyway, so I didn't get really hurt by that score. But this 77 ensures that he'll have some pretty decent cash generation, and that 20-odd will be out of his system before we know it. So really nice from Brockman. We can't expect much more than a 77. I think probably around the 50 to 55 marks a realistic expectation, I think, for Brockman at this stage. So, look, that's how the side did perform this week. Pretty happy, as I said. A couple of underperforming premiums there. And now that brings me to my trades for this week. Am I going to trade? Yes, I am at this stage. And most likely, I'm going to make 2 trades. Now, where I'm lucky this year is that I feel that I've got all of the rookies right. I don't think there's a rookie that's a must-have that I don't have in my SuperCoach side. So I've got the luxury of maybe playing around with a couple of premiums. Now, normally I don't suggest to do this. And what I could do if I didn't want to play around with a couple of these premiums is I could just bank these 2 trades and probably be an extra trade up on the competition. I've obviously used one on Danger, but for those people that didn't start Danger, they use their 2 correctional trades this week. I'm one ahead of them now. That's what I could be doing, but I think that I do have to fix up a couple of things. Now, before I say, well, tell you what my trades are, I value a trade at about 150k, give or take. And there's situations that are a little bit different. Sometimes you've got to go a little bit earlier. Sometimes you want to, I suppose, wait it out and squeeze every last dollar that you can out of these rookies. But for me, 150k is what I value a trade with. And Lachie Neale is 721,000. And I think he'll go down 150k in no time whatsoever. Now, we could bounce back this week. I understand that. But even if he gets a 150, then I think his break even still around the 270 mark. So that's going to be 120 under his break even. Yeah, that's not going to be good. So for me, Neale probably goes this week. And Tom Phillips, I think, as well. I saw him on the weekend, and as I said, there were 2 things that really concerned me. Not his ability to find the football, but his decision-making and his execution. So I can't have that on my side, I don't think. And I just don't want to hold on to this bloke for too long. Someone like a Segler type that I had last year. You want to hold, see if he comes good. I'm just going to get rid of him now and cut my losses, I think. So again, usually I would use these 2 trades for rookie corrections anyway, and I don't have to do that. So I'm going to take advantage of using 2 trades still before the price rise and get rid of my man. It kills me to do so. It was just a bad decision to start off the year, and I'm going to correct that straight away. Now, there's 2 options that I'm looking at. The first option is to use a little bit of DPP swing and bring Rory Laird into the midfield and bring in Mr. Jordan Ridley. So I just love this selection at the moment because he literally takes out every kick in when he's available, and he uses it well. You know, we saw what he did last year. I selected him in about round 5, I think, last year, and we just loved watching this guy play football because when he gets the ball, he uses it well basically every single time. You add in those intercept possessions as well, those intercept marks, absolute roll gold. Now, I didn't like him as a starting pick this year due to his inconsistency to end last year. You know, that 70, 100 plus, 70, 100 plus for about a 7-8 week period there. But I've seen enough already in the first 2 weeks from Jordan Ridley to suggest that he's going to be close to a must-have this year. Those kickouts is what I'm all about, as I said, along with those intercept possessions. So that will allow me to bring Laird into my midfield now, and I can even move him back for Jordan Clark if I want as well. So that'll be up to 5 defenders, and I think that's probably what you need at the moment is at least 5 defensive options because they're looking pretty good down there at this stage. And with that 182k, I am a little bit loath to do this because, look, I've missed out on a couple of really big scores, and I think that this guy may come back down to earth, but there's no denying the form that this man is in. And the commentators mentioned this on the weekend. I thought, yeah, that's really true. And they said that Dusty's almost at the stage now when he wants to get a possession, he'll just go and get one. You know, he's that type of player at the moment. He just looks super dangerous. He looks like he wants to win a Brownlow again. And for me, Dusty's one of those players that 64%, is it 64? 65% of people own. I'm in the minority there, and I can't be for much longer, I don't think. He'd be the other most logical selection to bring in. So Neale and Phillips out, Ridley and Dusty in, and you bank 43k. So I think for me, that's the most likely moves for me. Again, I'm not wrapped with having to bring in Dusty, but he's just looking too good, I think, and I can't really continue to stand my ground. No, my luck, he'll go back down to a 90 for a couple of weeks, but he just looks really hungry at the moment, looks so damaging, and can just do things that other players in the competition can't do. So Dusty at this stage, and Ridley, I think, will come into my side, or else the other option I've got, I'll take Ridley out, take Dusty out. That means I'll need to bring Laird back in. So this man in the midfield, I think, I'll filter by name. Well, anyway, I'll tell you which. Jack McRae. Again, I'm sort of spewing that I didn't start McRae over Neale, but I just thought, look, I've had so many concerns pre-season about the Dogs midfield. I've watched one game when Treloar still wasn't playing. I just can't do it. I'll look silly. I've got to stick to my guns in Lachie Neale. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? But yeah, I can't go back in time. But I think McRae is going to be a really solid selection this year. Will be certainly one of the top midfielders. And obviously I can't afford Dusty, but the man that I can afford, again, is a super pod, and that is Zach Butters. And when I say a super pod, not super by, I suppose, numbers, what is he? 9.1 now, and I think that will rise, but a super type player, 163, absolutely amazing, this bloke. Geez, he was impressive. You got Rosie to come back into the side. That could actually be a good thing for Butters. Look, it looks like a bit of point chasing, I understand that, but after watching him play the first 2 weeks, he just looks sublime, this bloke, and I don't think that there's going to be too many games where he goes below an 80-90 type score, to be quite honest. And for the price that he's going to be going up, he'll hit those mid-500s in absolutely no time. Port are a really, really good side, and I don't really have a Port Adelaide... Well, I don't have a Port Adelaide player at all, and that's a little bit concerning because there's going to be a lot of points in that team, and I think Zach Butters may be one of the players that accumulates a fair chunk of those points because he can just do special things, this man, and he's a real impact-type player, so he doesn't need 30 touches each week to have a massive impact on the game. And for me, yeah, Zach Butters is still a little bit of a risk, and I'd probably rather go the safer Dusty option. But if I do go Jack Macrae, obviously, then yeah, he's a man that I can afford with 11k in the bank. So it's a really tough decision for me because I just love Macrae as a pick. But then again, I think that Ridley, that 130 average, he's still averaging more than Macrae. He's defender, and I'm saving 100k on that. And it will also allow me to go that safer option in Dusty, be with the majority of the crowd at 65%, or else again, I could take that risk on Butters, have more of a pod on my side, and that is a way for me to move up the ranks also. You've got to have a pod here and there, so that is a bit of a tempting move, but yeah, look, ultimately, I'd love to get Macrae and Ridley into the side if I could, but I simply can't afford to do that, so that's a little bit frustrating. But yeah, please let me know what you do down there in the comments section. I need your help this week, so it's going to be one of those two combinations. I've made my mind up that Neale's going and Phillips is going. I think financially it makes sense in regards to Neale, and with Phillips, I just wasn't impressed with him. He may bounce back for around that 85 to 90 average. I'm not too sure, but I just want to get rid of him now and get someone else in who I think is guaranteed to score more than him. So let me know, should it be Ridley and, who's the other man? Dusty. Ridley and Dusty, that's option 1, or option 2, Jack Macrae and Zach Butters. Let me know what you think, guys. I'd really, really appreciate it. So, look, that's it from me for now. Remember, the stock market video will be out tomorrow night. I'm also getting Julian. Apologies, Julian. I called Julian Adrian in my Crazy Frogs round 1 winning side video. Julian has been kind enough to offer to come onto the channel. So I'm really looking forward to that. That'll hopefully be some stage this week. Really looking forward to having a chat with him, and also look forward to getting together with Spills and completing our next podcast. It's been a while since our first installment of the SuperCoach Swordplay podcast. So, yeah, I'll get with Spills hopefully some stage this week and get that out as soon as possible. So, good luck for this week, guys. Let me know how you went, and I'll see you soon with the next stock market video. Take care. See you next one. Bye.